Donovan, what was the feeling like just to deliver the knockout blow on opening night on the road?
I think the biggest thing, we did a lot of good things defensively late game. We dug in, dug deep. It's easy for us to kind of give in. And that's the thing about our team, and we're really resilient. You saw it last year in the overtimes. We go like 7-0, like when the games are close and things like that in situations, we definitely lock in defensively. And then for me, when it's time, just kind of picking my spots and getting to where I wanted to. I didn't really have the game I wanted to tonight. I didn't feel like I was the best offensively for my teammates. I did I did some good things, but I feel like I could have been much better. And I think that's just building as the season goes on. But like I said, when it's time, doing what I got to do.
Although you ultimately delivered the game-winning shot, like you said, it wasn't just you, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the guys down the stretch came up big in different ways. Right. What stands out to you most about this win?
Like I said, the defensive efforts. Max blocking Cam Johnson, Isaac doing what he does. Rebounding Karras. Myself, Evan. Guys came in late game, doing whatever it takes. That's honestly what we are preparing for in the playoffs. Doing whatever it takes, finding a way. And I think that's just continuing to build on it. But like I said, there's a lot of things that we could have done to prevent us from even getting to this point. And I think that's what we're looking at. Finding ways to, we started out really well, let them back in and change different things. I did some things offensively where kind of allowed them to get back in the game, bad shots, turnovers, different things. So kind of eliminating that so we're not in those situations, but also knowing that when we're in those situations, we're composed, we're poised, and being able to deliver.
Hey, Donovan.
Hey.
Obviously, you've played a ton of games against Max. What's it like now having him on your side?
Ooh. He's, it's one of those things. The fact that he had 27 tonight and also had 12 boards while playing the 4, there's a lot to his game that I didn't know, and I've had to guard him, I've had to chase him, and I think the shooting is the obvious thing, but I think you look at, his knowledge, what he sees, what he's, anticipation, being able to be, an all-ball defender, be in coverage, switch, guard your man, sprint on transition, make the right plays. Like, there's so many things that he does, the intangibles, that he has that outside of just his shooting, I think it's something that really stood out to me tonight and it stood out to me all camp, and it always helps when you make 7 threes as well. But, for him, we're still trying to figure each other out. And I think this is not a bad way to start in that way. And there's going to be nights where we're still, things don't necessarily go as smoothly, in those moments. But I think, for us to see that, we have game film now, obviously with the preseason, but we have game film understanding, all right, this is what he likes, this is what I like, this is what DG likes, kind of figuring out what Evan, kind of figuring all that out. But when you add a guy like Max Strus to what we've already have, it's special, but we got to put the work in and continue to do it.
You were part of the recruitment process for Max. Is this what you kind of envisioned?
Yeah, I relate him, to his movement. His movement is kind of Kyle Korver-esque. I play with Kyle Korver. That's why I say that, because he doesn't stop moving. Kyle was the same way, So for me, kind of going back and watching the film of how Kyle moved while I was playing, because I'm used to, coming off and, things are very spots. So now understanding, okay, this is what Max likes. How do we get him open? How do we get him in transition? How do we get him in these actions? And sometimes just get off the ball and let him do what he does, and he draws so much attention. Even on the last shot, first of all, I missed him. I should have passed it to him, but then after that, they went back to him after he fell, and that's why I got the wide open shot. So just being able to educate myself, with him and finding ways to get better. But this was definitely the process I had in my head, but like I said, it's game 1, and we'll continue to get better.
You said something about focusing on the bad stretches in the fourth quarter and thinking about those as a team. Last year you guys were in a different position, you were a different team, and it seemed like you were a guy who was pulling like a lot of the positives and focusing on those things. Are you looking at this with more of a critical eye this year for any reason?
Yeah, I think you always want to continue to be positive, but also understand and looking at the film and understand how do we avoid being in these situations. Some of these games that are going to come up, we're going to have situations where we can handle business in the third quarter, stretching a lead from, 5 to 15, or not giving up 5 points or giving up 10 points. Now we're down 5, kind of going about that. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to figure it out every time. But if you can eliminate those situations, because like I said, we're a resilient team. We're going to fight. We're going to claw back always. But how can we eliminate those? And that's, like I said, the goal is to be perfect, but you're never perfect. But that's what you're kind of looking at. So when we get to these, these playoffs, it's like, all right, cool. Like, we can figure it out because every possession matters, every possession counts, and that's what you're looking at now. When we know what we have, we know what we can do. Last year was kind of a whirlwind, obviously, when I get traded three weeks before camp, the entire schemes change and different things change, and that's not an excuse, but I think that's something now coming into camp, understanding what we have, and now it's like, okay, we know what we can be. Let's find a way to execute and kind of nitpick every detail to be perfect.
Hey, Donovan, Mike Vorkanoff with The Athletic. You mentioned the playoffs a few times already. Are you thinking about everything that you guys are doing from game to game, like building the habits in the context of what you need to do for the playoffs?
Yeah, that's ultimately what, it starts. It starts now. And like I said, tonight was a good win, but there are things that we and myself could have done better to ultimately, not have to rely on that last shot. And I think that's what we all take away. And like I said, it's a good mindset to have, but also not forgetting we also did some really good things too. You know what I'm saying? So after having that experience, I think that's something that we all look at. But that's honestly how I've always approached it. Understanding just building those habits, building those building blocks. So when we get time, but not overlooking the regular season, because at the end of the day, you got to put yourself in a good position. When that time comes. But using these as building blocks and continue to build our foundation.
And because this is your second season, right? You guys made the playoffs for the first time for a lot of the guys on the team last year. Do you feel like, as a team, you've kind of entered this season with different expectations for yourself, different perception of
100%. I think there's times you just don't know what you don't know. I can tell you, the stove is hot. I said this before. I tell the stove is hot, but you don't know until you touch it and you burn yourself. You know what I'm saying? So there's different things you learn, and whether it's guys' first times in the playoffs with each other, there's so many different firsts that are now no longer first, and now it's like, okay, you come into this season with a wherewithal of what's going on, and now we continue to use these games and hopefully continue to win these games, through these lessons, and build for when it's time.
Hey, Donovan, Dan Martin from the New York Post. What was it like opening the season for you, just in front of kind of a home crowd for yourself?
Yeah. A lot of fun. Always love coming back home, playing it for my family. Obviously, I had I released my 5th shoe last night, so I had a lot of friends and everybody come out to that. And, to be able to win the game here, similar to how we did last year at the end, I think it's just something that's always truly special. You grow up, here, well, not in the city, but close, you know what I'm saying? And just to be able to win the game and also to hit the game winner at home, it's special, and it's always good to win here.
You talked about the whirlwind of last year getting traded to Cleveland. Even this offseason, there's still speculation about, what's going to happen with your extension, things like that. Do you still think about Knicks, Nets, anything?
I'm honestly focused on my guys here, and I said that at the beginning of media day. The biggest thing is how can we win now with what we have? That's the biggest thing, and that's the goal. You start looking towards the future. You lose perspective of what's right in front of you, and that's kind of my biggest focus. And my guys know that, my coaches know that, and everybody knows that.
Anything else, guys? Last one.
Did you give Darius any grief about taking the first flopping technical?
That's what that was. I was wondering why they shot the free throw. I don't know what was going on. I'm gonna have to now. I didn't know that. Somebody else tried to flop too. I think they brought a good find on the camera. I forgot who it was, but hopefully they can appeal and get their money back. I'm not a big flopper, but I gotta watch myself now.
And then Isaac, here's a guy who didn't get a contract extension, right? Like seemingly lost his starting job with Max coming in. Like, what can you say about him and the game that he had and handling everything that he's handled?
He is, and I'm not saying this because it's you, but I'm saying like the way people look at it is the way you phrase the questions. Like you could say he lost his starting spot, he didn't sign an extension. I don't even think he comes into it like that. I think he just comes into it with I'm ready to do whatever it takes for this team, and I think that's something that's truly special about not only a guy like himself who doesn't do a lot of things that show up in the stat sheet on night-to-night basis, but also a young guy. Like the young guys in this league, not a lot of young guys have that mental fortitude to not sign one, and then come in the next game, the first game of the season, and be ready to do whatever it takes, and then come with the same positive attitude. Like I give him a lot of credit because that's not always the case. Obviously, you want to come in and get money. Like, get your money. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's no secret. Like, you know what I'm saying? But for him to continue to, you know, focus on team, that's truly a special gift that he has. And I got a lot of respect for Ice. And he's one of the first ones in the gym continuously working, and understands that whatever it takes to win, you know, that's what's on his mind. And I respect that. And that's what we love about Ice.